What's going on, guys? It's Ed here from Clicks Geek. It is a beautiful, rainy Thursday afternoon. I am here with Lane from Quantum Newswire.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hey everyone. Good to be here with you, Ed.
Awesome. All right, Lane, we're here to talk about local SEO today. You were one of my go-to guys with local SEO. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, and how you work with local businesses, local agencies?
Sure. Sounds good, Ed. What I'll do is I'll share my screen too while I'm talking. That way,
Okay.
we can kind of follow along here. So, like Ed said, my name is Lane Houk, and along with my partner Matt, we built a software called Quantum Newswire. Where it comes from, basically, like Ed, we had our own digital agency, which I now call our legacy agency, which we still have, and some legacy agency clients. But going back to 2010, I launched the agency, and we right out of the gate focused on websites, SEO, and local SEO. So I've been doing that for about 10 years, and starting about 3 years ago, we embarked on creating a software platform that solved some of our biggest challenges or issues in executing local SEO on a monthly basis, and also got to work on solving some of the big gaps or misses that I saw in some of the other software that we had been using up to that point to execute and do SEO. So that's a little bit about where it came from. In 2019, we launched the Quantum Newswire in 2018. Last year, 2019 was our year of pivoting. We pivoted from having a legacy agency into having a white label agency. Quantum Newswire was built for other agencies, but what we use it for is really for SEO, local SEO, and building authority around a company or an entity and its related assets, primarily its website and its Google listing. So that's a little bit about where we came from. And feel free to just jump in, Ed, if you have any thoughts
Sure.
or questions or anything you want to point out. But essentially, what we did in Quantum Newswire was we built in fundamentally the concept of content syndication. So going back, to 2013, 2014, we adopted the content syndication strategy as a core component of SEO and local SEO, and that really has its root in just simply authoring great quality content for the entity or company that we're trying to rank. Authoring great quality content and then getting that content out, to authoritative sites. And so that strategy was built in going back as early as 2013. And so as we executed on that, we saw great results. And I started using some other press release services as an extension of our content syndication strategy. It kind of made sense. We author great content, and then we take that content for, let's say it's client A or a website that we're trying to rank, and then we would put it onto these press release services and get the content out on other places. The problem that I saw is that it had diminishing returns in terms of its efficacy to really create better rankings. It worked really, really well in the early years, and then over, kind of every year, I just saw it kind of have a little bit less effect. So I began to kind of dive into why is this happening and what can we do to maybe fix this issue of press release services. And one of the things that I saw as the biggest gap or miss was that what would happen is we take the article or the content that was authored for client A or the website that we're trying to rank. We would put that content into, say, Press Advantage or AB Newswire, any of these, and they would take the content, publish it to their website first, and then distribute out.
Right. So they were the source of the content.
Yeah. So they were becoming the source of the content. And to me, that was like a big gap. Like, it just was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And really the reason it didn't make sense was because I was aware of EAT and authorship. EAT has its genesis back as far as 2013.
Real quick, unpack EAT real quick.
Yeah, so EAT, it's right here. So this is a direct copy and paste from Google's quality guidelines. Okay, so EAT stands for expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And so this is a direct quote from Google's quality guidelines that it issues to its manual raters, and it's telling those human beings, when you go to a page to rate it and look for its quality, here are the things that you need to look for. Number one, what's the purpose of the page? Well, the content should spell that out, right? But then they say, well, look for this EAT, these EAT characteristics. And specifically, they instruct the manual rater to go to the page and look at who's responsible for the main content. Well, that's code for look at who's the author of the content, right? Authorship isn't new, but the way the traditional press release services execute in the service that they provide, it basically steals authorship from being the company that we're trying to rank to being the author of the content is now the press release service. And that diverts a majority of the authority and the content, and it actually builds the EAT profile of the press release service because they're the author of the content. They're responsible for the main content. So this concept of authorship was a big miss as I could see it. And it never made sense that I would take a content about a certain company and their website and then go give it to the press release service and have them publish it to their site. And in fact, their site becomes the permanent record of that content, even worse, because that content on the press release services site never gets removed. It's always there.
Right.
So the content on the live media sites will get flushed in 30 to 60 days usually. So that was a big miss. So what we did is in the technology, we baked into the strategy this concept of sourcing. So when an agency or a company uses Quantum Newswire to basically extend their content syndication strategy, what we're really doing is we're supercharging that content by syndicating it to live media sites, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox type sites with massive authority. But what's happening is we're truly attributing that content and sourcing it to the target site or the money site. And so we have a specific step and a specific component in the syndication process to indicate the source link of that content. And so once that happens, when these live media sites publish and distribute or publish the content to their site, we're actually attributing the source of that content directly through an explicit link as of the canonical, if you will, and basically telling Googlebot the original content is over here on this target site. So that's the first strategy that we built into Quantum Newswire was the concept of authorship and the ability to actually build the EAT profile of an entity through content syndication in a proper manner, because a proper manner of content syndication always involves attribution, right? Content syndication is basically a strategy to duplicate original content on other sites, right? And so at its core, content syndication is really content duplication. We're putting duplicate content on other sites, but Google will recognize it and actually pass authority back to the source, the author of that content, if there is proper attribution. And so even going back as early as 2013, 2014, when we were doing content syndication using IFTTT, this is kind of an example of what maybe a content syndication strategy might look like. We take content and we syndicate it out to all these different types of profiles, maybe in different tiers. Again, duplicate content existing wherever we might syndicate or post it to, but if you have proper attribution, that really was the underlying fundamental in content syndication, is that we attribute the source of the content properly, and therefore we amass the authority around that content to the target site that is the attribution site. So that was one big core strategy. And then the second core strategy that we baked into the technology was the idea or strategy of being a signal generation engine. And so the idea of signals goes back to 2014, I believe it was, when Moz first came out with these pie charts, their local pack and their local organic ranking factors. And so I remember seeing these pie charts going back into 2013, 2014, kind of reading their study. And I'm like, well, this makes a lot of sense. And so as I kind of, unpacked all this, I was like, well, this makes sense. I mean, there are signals and types of signals that can be generated around an entity and its related Google listing to help boost rankings. And so, and this has just evolved, year in and year out. Moz does this study every single year, and they interview and query hundreds or thousands of expert SEOs all over the world to find out, well, what's working this year, or what's worked in the last 12 months in terms of actually driving map pack rankings and organic rankings. And so This has come out every single year, but I adopted this strategy really from like 2015 on, is that everything that we do in terms of SEO on a monthly basis is really looked at through the prism of signal generation. All we want to really do is generate signals, as many of them as we can, in quality signals, authoritative signals, but we want to generate signals on a monthly basis. And so what we did in terms of building out Quantum Newswire was we built in specific things, or technology functions that would allow us to generate certain types of signals. So for instance, we did a direct Google Map API integration with Quantum. Why? So that we can drive and generate real powerful Google My Business signals, which fire off proximity signals. And obviously have, with a Google Map API integration, we're directly querying the Map API to bring in a map right into the live media site. We also can generate link signals with one article of content. We can generate do follow and no follow links. So that's another difference between us and a lot of these other more traditional press release services. You go to any of the other PR services, they're all no follow links, at least on these live authoritative media sites like CBS, NBC, Fox. We're a little bit different there in that we allow for do follow, although we really caution our users to be careful with the do follow usage, and also use no follow links as well. And we give our users in the technology, as you're familiar with, Ed, the ability to mark up the links as either do follow or no follow. But underlying all of that is the ability to generate link signals, which was, by the way, for us as the agency in doing our SEO, was our hardest. It was our biggest challenge every single month, right? Is how do we generate links? How do we generate link signals around the entity, its website, and its related Google listing? I mean, we were stuck with having to do guest posting, manual blogging, and then manual blog, placements if we could, or guest posting. We would have to do, manual link building with do follow, assets potentially, but that was really heavy labor. It was inefficient. It wasn't really scalable. It wasn't really predictable. And so generating link signals was one of the core drivers for me and us to build Quantum Newswire, because it was our #1 challenge every single month. We can also generate on-page signals with an article of content on Quantum. You can generate citation signals on Quantum with one article, and you can generate behavioral signals. So 5 of the 8 categories, and really 5 of the top 8 categories, are all generated with one article of content on Quantum Newswire. And at the end of the day, that was kind of the two-headed beast, or the two-headed strategy that we had with Quantum that makes it significantly different than all other press release services, guest posting, or other link building type services.
Let me ask one question about the citations or citation signals.
Yep.
When you say citation signals, are you referring to linking to a citation within it, or the fact that you've got your NAP within it, that's creating the citation signal?
Yeah, so we're creating a citation signal because we're putting the NAP inside every single. This automatically gets inserted for you because it's using the company information that you've added in around that company. So this is a structured citation. It's got schema markup around it. Some of it you can see, some of it you can't see, and I won't get into why you can't see it. But we're doing things on our back end that we don't even want our competitors to be able to reverse engineer in terms of what we're doing. So there are things that we're doing that are actually hidden to the eye. You will not be able to find everything that we're doing. But this is a structured citation, and it gets out on 45 plus media sites like this right here. It's a Fox 34 site, right? So. We're building 45 or so structured citation signals with one article of content.
Got it. Very cool.
So that was the two-headed beast, or strategy, if you will, that makes us significantly different. One was the article or content sourcing strategy, which leads to the EAT profile and building that EAT profile around the entity. And the second was be a signal generation engine, because we wanted to be able to fire off as many different signals as we possibly can using one article of content. If we're going to author and create the content, which we were already doing anyway, even before Quantum, even before press releases, content on a regular basis was just part of SEO. I mean, I think most people doing SEO realize there has to be some sort of content velocity as part of the strategy, whether it's a monthly article or a weekly article or a quarterly article, whatever it might be. There's usually content involved. what we were like was like, if we're going to involve content, let's properly source it and give it proper attribution so we get the most mileage out of that authored content. And then secondly, let's generate as many signals as we can around that content. And so that's what the technology, accomplishes in Quantum Newswire.
And with the one thing, the social signals part, I get the idea of interaction within Google. What is, give me some context around like Facebook and Twitter and how you'd get that. Is that something built in? Is that something you add in your profile and it gets syndicated that way? Give me a little context around that.
Yeah, so social signals, what we do is, obviously these are news sites, so there's no social media component of this. So what you can do in terms of generating social signals around the content is, for instance, you can take this nice fox34.com link and go post this into Facebook. And, if it's our Facebook page, so this happens to be mobile computer services. So I could take this URL, go into our Facebook page and say, hey, we were recently featured on Fox, on Fox, and paste a link in there and drive some traffic through social media directly to this page. So that's one way we can generate social signals, by also driving traffic or behavioral signals, which ultimately drive even more GMB link on page and citation signals, because as we drive traffic to these pages, Google's noticing and finding the behavioral signals in this. Just so you know, Google Analytics is installed on every single one of these media sites. And so Google is seeing every single visit, every single click, every single referral in, every single click out. And so whether or not these are even ending up, some people say, well, if I don't see this press release in the index, in the search index, then is it really having any effect? And the answer unequivocally is absolutely it is, for the reason I just shared, and among others. But so Google is seeing all of the signals that are coming from this through Google Analytics, through live traffic, and from there, the traffic has good behavioral signals, which is a huge component, we believe, of actual ranking. It's just a few clicks, a few live hits from a real person, no matter where they might be, to a page. Is going to really significantly help in terms of the authority that page has and the authority that it therefore passes.
Got it. Okay. And I'm seeing, it looked like a slideshow there. I saw an image there. I think I saw a video. You're able to embed different pieces of media into the press release. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's one of the other differences, although it might be a minor difference from some services, major difference from others. But as you can see here, we've got images that are being brought in here. We can bring in either images or videos. And we do that. I'll show you how we do that in a second. And then we also have featured images that show up in different places depending on the media site. So some of these media sites have a real featured image slider that feature the images that we drop in. And then some of them don't have it, and they have a thumbnail, kind of thumbnails up here. Those images also appear down at the bottom, and we host these images on an Amazon S3 bucket as well for life. So what we do is we execute images in two different ways. Those image signals actually can also generate link signals and GMB signals depending on how you use the images. So let's go into an actual article here on the platform. Give it a second to load our list here. Every time I'm in Zoom, it loads slow here, but let's go into this one here. And I'll go in to edit this one since this one's already done and published. So it's really a very simple three-step process to use Quantum, but step one is we just choose the company. And if you don't have the company already added into your agency account or reseller account, then you just simply add it on the fly here, or you can recall companies from the list once you have them loaded in there. Once you have your company chosen, it's going to automatically bring in the Google map listing if one exists. If it's the first time you're doing an article for this client and or this location, you may need to actually come in here and query the Google Maps API. As you can see here, we've actually got a live map API call, and we're finding this listing right here on Creedmoor Road. So now we've got this done. That's basically step one. Step two is where we were talking about the images, Ed. So in step 2 is where we put in the kind of the guts of the content. We put in our headline and our blog headline. These are grayed out because this one's already happens to be published, and that can't be changed once published. But then we see here the body of our content. And this body of the content is the same content that's right here.
Yep.
Okay. And so this image here, we're bringing in this image likely from a GMB post. Let's see if it is. Yeah, it is. So this image we're bringing in from a GMB post. So what happened here is inside our editor, we bring in images by using an image source link. So if I wanted to put an image right here in this spot, I just come up here, I'd hit image, and I would paste in my image source URL right here. It's going to automatically bring in my image dimensions and then just drop the image right in here, which is what we did right up here. This is a way to fire off both an image signal, a link signal, and a GMB signal with one image. All right. So check out what's happening here. We go to, actually, we can just quick short. Let me do it this way. I got to spell here. So this GMB listing, there it is, has posts on it, and you can see those posts right here, right? And so if I click on these posts, you'll see that each of these posts also has an image associated with it. And so what we're simply doing here is we're bringing in this image right in here into Quantum using the image source URL. So what we do is we simply right click on this image, we copy this image address. We'll see here, it's going to be that googleusercontent.com domain, which is a nice Google asset, right? And so now this image we can bring in here by simply pasting in the image source URL right here.
Got it.
And then
I see you added a an anchor for that image.
Yes.
Or an
Why? Because when Googlebot crawls it, it's going to find that anchor. It's just going to provide more relevance for the content and the image. Not to mention the fact that Googlebot's going to see, oh, this image is actually on a Google asset, right?
Right.
And it happens to be the GMB listing. So we are actually firing off an image signal, a GMB signal, a link signal, and some on-page signals just through the use of one image. So it goes back to our signal generation engine, right? With one image, we create a GMB signal. Why? It's a direct link to that GMB listing, right? Through the image. We create a link signal because that image is a link. We created an on-page signal with the anchor text. And if we get any clicks on that, we'll even create some behavioral signals. So that's how, so if you think about signal generation, now you look at your content in a little bit different, prism. You look at it and go, well, I've got this article of content, but now how can I fire off different signals because Googlebot crawls this. And so if we have a good section heading like an H2 or H3 tag, well, that's going to fire off an on-page signal. Google's looking for these on-page signals, right? So inside Quantum, we'll come in here and we'll take that section heading and we'll make it H2 or we'll make it H3. And so we're going to mark up our content to provide on-page signals along with providing better structured content. Google loves structured content with section headings. And it provides a really good indication of what this paragraph is all about from a relevancy standpoint. So we're creating on-page signals, we're creating image and link signals, we're creating GMB signals, we're creating link signals with our links, both do follow and no follow, right? So at the end here, once our content's all done, we've got.
Let me throw in one little interjection here.
Yeah.
The cool thing about your platform is I can go in and just ask you guys to write it for me. So instead of having to do all of that, which may look a little like a lot and look a little daunting, I can just pay, I think 50 or 60 bucks. You guys will actually write the article, the content for me.
Yeah.
So
We sure do.
Perspective, I go in once per week and just bang these out and order it, and your team does it. What I supply is with a video or image and some links, anchor text, and then you guys literally take care of the rest. I ask to approve before distribution. You guys send over, say, Ed, here it is, and it's all done through the platform. I approve it, and then it goes into a queue to go into distribution. So it may look daunting if you had to produce this much content on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, but with your team writing the content, it makes my life so much easier and for our clients so much easier. So I just wanted to throw that out there to give a little more context.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, and that was done because we knew there would be an element of users that just wanted to just set and forget. Like, do it for me. I don't have the time. My goal is to do X, Y, and Z. So for those, we have it's about a 65-35 split, 60-40 split. 60% or so of our users bring in their own content, whether they have their own writers, they write it themselves, or they pay somebody else to write it for them. And then about 35 or 40% of our users use the write it for me option, which is our writing team doing the work like you just described and writing it for them. So you can either bring in your own content directly into the platform on your own, or you can have us write it for you, or a combination of both.
Got it. Yeah, I'm a fan of the done for you option. Makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see here.
Go to that. Go back to the platform real quick. This part, you kind of give more context around what's required, and it gives a little checklist on right below the image. Yeah, that part, and then that part, and then you scroll down a little bit more, goes through the content, just talks about best practices and what's required, and then below that goes to the anchor text, which is something I absolutely love. Talk about, so this is where in the platform you can choose if you're doing a do follow or no follow link. And with that, give me a little context as to why you'd want to choose one over the other and how you would set that up in your press release.
That's a great question and great point, Ed. So I think, first of all, you need to have that fundamental understanding of the difference between a do follow link and a no follow link. So we're not going to do a primer on do follow and no follow links, but if you don't understand that, then you should definitely look that up and just get the basic understanding of the difference between do follow and no follow. But in essence, a do follow link is telling Googlebot follow this link. What it also does algorithmically is the do follow link also passes PageRank or PR. And so when you have a do follow link, you're actually going to pass some of the authority, or what some people might call the juice, or in technical terms, the PR or the PageRank will pass from the source page to the do follow linked page, right? So we have authority that this fox34.com page has. And if we have a do follow link like we have right here, then we're going to pass some of the authority, the page rank, from this fox34.com page that we're on to the do follow link page or asset that we're linking to. So we typically will, advise our users to link to the two main assets. You can link to anything you want, right? But the two main assets that every user is trying to optimize and rank is the website and the related Google listing, if there is one. So those are going to be your two primary assets. And so you can see here directly in this example, we are linking directly to an inner page on the website, a services page. And we're also linking to the Google Maps page and the location page and another page here. So, and honestly, I have a critique of my team that did this here. There should really be a link out here to a wiki on this, or some other third-party authoritative site that's not a competitor. And that should be in here as well as a no follow. But, there's always room for improvement. And I'll say this too, the strategy should be varied. We never want to do the same thing over and over and over again, month in and month out, week in and week out. Predictability is the enemy of SEO, because predictability creates patterns, and patterns is what Googlebot is really trained in many ways to find, right? So we want it to be unpredictable. We don't want Googlebot to find predictable footprints and patterns in our SEO strategy. So variance is your friend as an SEO, predictability is your enemy. And so from a month-to-month or article-to-article basis, we want to vary the anchor text. We want to vary the pages and the assets that we're linking to. We want to vary the images. Everything should just be varied, because that's a best practice. So what we have here in Quantum is quite unique in that we do have do follow links on these live, major media sites. So use them sparingly. Don't cram an article full of do follow links. And in fact, you don't want to, because you're really only going to hurt yourself. And here's why. When you have a do follow link, you are passing page rank and authority through that link. If I add a second link that's do follow, I'm going to have the PR that I'm passing between the two links. So every time you add another do follow link, you're diluting the authority that you're sending to the do follow link sources or targets, I'm sorry. So our best practice is 2 do follow links kind of at most inside an article, because I want to focus the PR, the authority that we're going to pass to really no more than 2 assets. And so we'll typically have, whether we have 4 or 5 or 6 links inside an article, typically only 2 of them are going to be do follow and the other are going to be marked as no follow.
Got it. Do you have a preference on weighted more towards do follows to your GMB versus your main website, or is it niche dependent on how much traffic is going to go to the GMB instinctually or to the website? What's your take on that?
Both. We typically will do 1 do follow to the GMB listing and 1 do follow to an inner page, not to the home page. We really don't want to rank the homepage. We want to build the authority of our inner pages, our service pages, our location pages, you know, and all of the above. So
and you're getting that homepage link anyway in the bottom. So
you're getting it right here as long as you put the homepage in your company setup. So you're always going to get a do follow link to the homepage. You're right.
The homepage, right? So avoid that. So stick to the assets you're actually looking to rank. Got it.
And what I typically will do is the first link is the most important link in the article. So that's always going to be a do follow. That's why it's not checked here.
Okay.
And then typically I like to have the last link be a do follow, and then all the links in between, first and last, are no follow. You don't have to do it that way, but that's just one way, one strategy in terms of linking. But the most important pieces have some do follow and have some no follow. You want to have both. You do not want to have all do follow, like this would be an all do follow article right now because they're not checked. I come in here, now those are going to be marked up as no follow links.
Got it. Do you ever interlink press release to press release?
Sure, absolutely. So for instance, we might, in a new article, we might go grab either a link like this, or even better, I might go to the source link.
The source, yep.
Right, and so this is going to be our permanent record of the article.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Skip what I was just talking about and talk about this. Talk about the source of the content, how you actually become the source of the content. Talk about the plugin. Talk about how your site becomes the main attribution point for the content, because we kind of breezed over that and didn't really talk about the power of the plugin that you guys actually have.
Yeah. So we built a WordPress plugin to accompany the SaaS software for those users who have, most SEOs are using WordPress for the SEO on their website, but not everyone. And you don't need to use WordPress or have to have WordPress in order to use Quantum. It's just that if you do have WordPress, then our WordPress plugin comes along for the ride and it adds a lot. It has some efficiency and automations along with some features that are pretty nice. So number one, with our WordPress plugin, as you see here, we're on an actual press release article page. And we've got name, address, phone number, all in schema markup here, which is what our widget is producing this. We've got a map that's also being produced by our widget. So ultimately, this page is the media room page, right? So on most of these other services that you go to and that you might use or have used in the past, the content that gets published to pressadvantage.com or einpresswire.com, that content is getting published to their website first. And so that website with that original article of content becomes basically the newsroom page. On our platform, we want the target site, the site that we're actually trying to rank in the SERPs, to be the source of the article. So there's 2 ways to do this, either with the WordPress plugin or manually if you have a non-WordPress site. Either way, the way you do this is in step 3. We were going through the 3 steps. In step 3, the last step, you drop in your other photos, you check off the main channel, which is where we're distributing the article to. And then right down here, there's this really simple checkbox, kind of obscure, but has a fundamental shift in difference in terms of what's happening here. So when we check that box, we're going to use the sourcing feature that our software has. And then we can either choose to use the WordPress plugin, or we can manually insert the permalink URL, which is where the content is originally published. So important in using the sourcing feature is the first step that the content, right, this content here, has to be published to the website first. Why? Because we want Google to find this content and assign it as the canonical and as the original author of the content. So what happens is once you're finished in building your content in Quantum, you do it all here in Quantum Newswire, get it all set up, get it all optimized in step 2, you select your sourcing, and then if you're using the WordPress plugin, you just simply hit publish, basically. Continue to the review stage, and then you publish it, okay?
Yep.
What happens with the WordPress plugin, as soon as you hit publish, number one, our team has to go and approve that content, make sure it's not prohibited. We have a direct publishing relationship with these sites. So there's no intermediary. Once we approve it, it's going directly to these sites. So we have a human team that verifies the content, make sure it's not prohibited, you know, yada, 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 spammed, whatever. Once you publish it, our team approves it. And then once it's approved, the first thing that happens is our software and the plugin communicate, and the article gets published directly here to the WordPress site automatically. So the WordPress plugin publishes the content for you, nothing you have to do. Our SaaS pauses for 24 hours. Our SaaS pings Google Search Console to hopefully ensure a crawl and render of this page to make sure it does get set as the canonical. Then 24 hours later, our software begins to publish out to, or syndicate out to, the different media sites. About 4 days later, our plugin communicates with the software one more time, and our software will bring in a random sample of the sites, the media sites that the article got published to. So we can then click on these sites, on those links, and go right out to the article on this live, and this happens to be a radio station site. So these distribution links pop into the bottom of the article automatically 4 to 5 days after distribution has finished. And then they get automatically populated in here. And these are no follow links on the way out, because we don't want to pass authority out to the media sites. We want to bring authority in and keep it there on the site.
Okay. So are you cool talking about the archiving of the links too, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so if you haven't done press releases before, those links tend to go away after 2 or 3 or 4 months. The new site
Usually 30 days.
30 days, or even worse. So they scrub it of old content, and Lane and his team figured out a way around that. So why don't you give us a little context around that?
Yeah, so that was one of the drawbacks of using press release services, is we take that content, get it published, and get it on these nice media sites, and then we'd show our client and go, hey, you published on Fox and ABC and NBC, what have you. They'd go, they'd search their name or whatever, and then they'd find the article, be like, oh, great. And then, a month or 2 later, they'd go and probably be with a friend over a beer or two and go, hey, check this out. My SEO company got me on page 1. They'd go look for that article again, and they'd see the article in the search index, and they'd click on it, and it would go to a 404 error page. It wouldn't render the article. And so the first time it happened to me, I got the phone call or the email from the client, and they're like, hey, what happened to our article? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me go find out. I go back to the press release service and find out, well, what happened? Why is the article gone? And that's when I discovered that with press releases, they flush these articles off the live media sites typically every 30 days. So on day 31, this content ends up just getting flushed out, coming down. Why? Because these are massive news sites. They're doing local news. They got national news. They got politics, what have you, entertainment. So they just, in order to make sure these sites don't become bloated, with massive amounts of content over time, they will flush these articles off. On our platform, we did some work to keep these articles live for 120 days. So instead of 30 days, the content's live for usually around 100 to 120 days, but it's definitely longer than 90 days, and leading right up to about 120 days, 4 months. Okay. However, even then, the content does get flushed, and that was both a bad user experience, right? I got the client emails or phone calls going, hey, what happened to my article? And secondly, when you have a negative user experience, it also influences SEO, because Google's looking at user experience. They look at dwell time, bounce rate, etc., because those metrics, those KPIs, or those signals give us an indication of the content. So and how relevant it is and what have you. So we want a better user experience because we know Google optimizes for it. So instead of having that typical 404 error page, what we did is we did an integration with the Wayback Machine or Web Archives. And so what happens is on day 121 or day 120, whenever the content gets flushed, our crawlers are actively crawling these sites. Once we know the content has come down, our software has already published each of these pages to the Wayback Machine or the Web Archives. And these links then automatically redirect over to the Web Archive version of the story. So we solve for a better user experience by maintaining that when they click here on fox34.com, if this content has in fact been flushed, it's simply going to redirect them to web.archive.org/whatever, and then this long URL, and they're simply going to see the Web Archive version of this story, right? So we solve for a better user experience, and we also then solve for these links that are there well, what we're doing is we're forever immortalizing the content on the archives, right? This content is immortalized around 40 to 45 times on the Web Archives, and it's still leading back to the original source of this article, which is right here on the target site.
Got it. And does that Web Archive still pass some of the juice back from, I mean, it's got its own Web Archive domain. Yeah. Does that pass anything through?
I would say there's some signals there. It's certainly not going to be nearly what the juice is that you get from the live media sites. So, and I couldn't, speak to it, with real hard data and say, well, this is the authority you're going to get from Web Archives, or these are the signals you're going to get from Web Archives. The Web Archives version was more to solve for the negative user experience, along with immortalizing the content in as many places as we can forever.
Got it. Cool. All right.
Let's see here. We just talked about permanent Web Archives. You guys, we saw in our advanced text editor how we can create on-page signals and do great things with media and with videos, what have you. Another feature here is post-publish editing.
Oh yeah, my friend. Yeah,
so you make a mistake. You do an article for a client, and you put a link in, and the link is a dead link. You're like, oh crap, you have a misspelling, and the client sees the misspelling, and they're like, hey, that's misspelled. We need to get that corrected. On all the other services, we were SOL. I mean, there's nothing we could do. I mean, the only thing I could do is I could call these guys and pay $125 fee and have the article just deleted and taken down, and even that wasn't a guarantee.
Yep.
So if we had made a mistake, we were in kind of the doghouse, if you will, with the client for 30 days, and then the content would get flushed off, and then we just make our correction. I never liked that, and so because we have a direct relationship with these media sites, we have a feature called post-publish editing. So after the article has actually been published out to the live media sites, for any reason or no reason, you can come into Quantum Newswire and actually edit the release post-publication. So you can see here, these are already published and they have a report available, but I can still come in here and I can edit this release. So if I come in here and edit it, I can change anything and everything except for the headline and the blog headline, which you saw earlier was grayed out. Right. Anything else, the links, a misspelling, an image, any of that can be changed. Even the NAP. I've had some agencies who have put in the wrong address, for instance, or the wrong phone number, and then the NAP is wrong on all these live media sites, and they're like, "Hey, can we change that?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem. Go in, edit the company first. Make sure you get everything right here. Once you've done that, then just go back to Quantum, go to the release, the subject release, hit edit." And just kind of go through the steps and then hit publish again. And because you've already updated the NAP, it's just going to republish the changes to the NAP. And those changes reflect on the actual live media sites. And if you're using the WordPress plugin, any changes you made in the content also get updated on the WordPress site as well automatically.
I got a question about the images. Does the image I use have to be associated with that particular piece of content, or can it be from an old Gmb post that I've used?
These are all from old Gmb posts, right? Because we need in order to bring the image in from GMB, the image has to have already been in a post previously, right?
Got it.
So yeah, you can bring in any image. I mean, it could be an image for another company. I mean, if you wanted to. I mean, these look like ads almost, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, and actually, we're very close to being done with it. We're going to actually have a right underneath the source. We're going to have a featured articles option here, and we're going to allow our users to be able to choose if they want to have in the distribution when they go out to step 3. They're going to be able to choose. I want this to be a featured article, and then when they choose featured article, they'll pay a little extra. But then we're going to have, I don't know, either 5 or 10 featured releases with direct links to that, to their article, their source article on the live media sites, on other people's articles. You know what I mean? So we're going to be able to create more do follows and more signals by adding in that extra feature. So, but you can add in whatever image you want right here or anywhere you want, or video for that matter.
Got it. Okay. So I have 2 questions. One is, what are you seeing messaging wise? What are you seeing your clients or your agency clients use for messaging around this COVID-19 stuff? Have you seen clients using press releases to let people know they're closed or they're open? Or give me a little context around what you're seeing with how it's being utilized during this current economic situation.
Yeah, our volume is way up, and the volume, the extra volume that is kind of abnormal is all COVID-19 related type articles.
Yep.
We can do COVID-19 articles and publish them. The only thing that the article cannot do, or if it does, it'll get flagged and rejected, is we can't make claims.
Right. So, yeah. So no cure, no.
Yeah, no cures, or claim to 100% eradicate the virus if it's a cleaning company, or we just got to not make claims in the article. The article can mention COVID-19 or coronavirus. It just can't make claims, especially unsubstantiated claims, if there are any at all. But we would recommend just stay away from claims. Let the article be relevant to the topic, but just don't stay away from making claims.
Yep. We're on our side, we're going so far as to tell us from the Google Ads perspective, if it's a cleaning company, what the client physically wants to write, or write in writing, so that this is not something we took upon ourselves to write on the company's behalf. It's the client is telling us what they want in terms of ad copy, so that it passes their from a liability perspective. Again, claims. You're never going to 100% eradicate something. So I wanted hands off of that. I want them to tell me exactly what they want in ad copy and press releases, stuff like that. Let's go with a local business. Let's say a brand new roofing company. Let's go with Raleigh. That's basically, I live in Carrier and Wake Forest. Let's say Raleigh, our new roofing company in Raleigh. What would you do from an SEO perspective with a brand new website, brand new Gmb listing? How would you, what are the steps you would take someone to go from 0 to hero and get them ranking in Gmb and organically and start producing leads and jobs from the internet?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ed. So the first thing is, you got to have a great website. I mean, if you're starting off with a not so optimized website, you're just going to be working uphill the whole way. So for us, it always starts with a really good, optimized, structured website. The site doesn't have to be substantial and expansive in terms of the number of pages or content, but it should be well structured. Relevancy is an issue, and so when Googlebot crawls a site, Googlebot should very quickly and easily be able to tell the corpus of that site in terms of what is that site all about? What are the topics that it's related to, or business categories it's related to? We'll assume that we have a good optimized WordPress site, well structured. If not, that's going to be our first line of duty is getting that fixed. But then once we have that, then it's all about signal generation. So I want content velocity and I want signal velocity once we have a website live and off to the races. So, let me back up one more thing too. The other thing that needs to be optimized is the Gmb listing itself, right? So. Yep. If you got a brand new Gmb listing, I see a lot of people, who have a Gmb listing, but it's not completely filled out. They're not using a bunch of features inside that Gmb listing, not using the business.site option. They're not doing any GMB posts. They haven't filled out services or FAQs. You know, there's all sorts of things that you can do in terms of more fully completing and more fully optimizing a GMB listing. So
Yep.
optimize
The safe bet is if there's a tab for it, if there's somewhere for you to add information,
fill it in. Yeah, absolutely. Use it, fill it in. So optimize your site, optimize your GMB listing. That's kind of like a, you know, by and large, not 100%, by and large, a one-time type of thing. Obviously, we do some optimizations to GMB in an ongoing basis. Obviously, we do optimizations to the website on an ongoing basis, but the foundation should be there with an optimized website and listing. Once we have that done, then it's about content velocity and signal velocity really on an ongoing basis. And so what we'll typically do then is do one article per month per business category or per topical keyword theme. And those are usually about the same, right? So if the business category is landscape lighting, then, you know, the topical theme is landscape lighting as well. And there's going to be a bunch of related keywords or semantically related keywords to landscape lighting that we're going to have inside the corpus underneath that topical theme. And we'll do one article per month for that site, that GMB listing, for that business category, topical keyword theme. If, for instance, we have secondary business categories or secondary keyword themes, then that warrants a second article or a third article per month for each of those additional business categories and keyword themes.
So if it was a roofing company that did residential roofing, commercial roofing, siding, and gutters, you do one for each?
Yeah, that's probably four articles. I mean, and you could certainly not do that. I mean, you could certainly do it. And sometimes this is just budget driven. Sometimes the budget's just not there for 4 articles. So, you know, if it's only 2, then just do 2 and then you rotate your topical themes. You know, one every other month you're doing the same 2, so to speak, right? You know, you're doing on month 1 we're doing, you know, roofing and gutters, and then on month 2 we're doing siding and commercial, you know.
Got it.
But that's the general consensus. I mean, what we have found in practice, and, you know, having hundreds of agencies using our platform reporting back to us, is that at 1 article per month per business category / keyword theme, they're seeing the bumps in rankings by month 2, and they're typically seeing page 1 rankings in months 3 to 6. Why a range? Well, because every geo market's different. You know, every industry or niche is different. Every website in GMB listing has a different level of optimization that it's already attained, or you got different levels of history and domain authority coming into it. So there's all those variables that, you know, will create the variance or range in terms of ranking. But we have plenty of agencies who are only using Quantum Newswire for their rankings, and all they're doing is 1 to 2 articles per month, and that's all they do every single month and nothing else. If you're in a really heavy competitive market, you're in a national SEO, you got super competitive keywords you're trying to rank for, or you're in a really competitive geo market and you've got some competitors who've been around for 10 years and have done a good job investing in their site, what have you. All right, well then maybe Quantum's not going to be enough. Quantum Newswire is not a magic bullet or magic pill. Like I said, it requires some good foundations. But and then if you're in really competitive industries or niche markets, then sometimes you need to do an advanced Google authority stack build or do some advanced link building on top of Quantum. But you'll achieve the efficiency of signal generation and velocity very well by using Quantum, and just making sure that's good quality content. Because you could put an article of content in here and not fire off nearly as many signals if you didn't put images in there, didn't put any videos in there, didn't do a good job of linking. You know, I see people putting, you know, really low quality, almost spammy type content into our platform and then thinking that's going to do a lot for them. You know, I mean, if you have a bad linking strategy and you got crappy content, well, you're going to get, you know, lesser results for sure. So.
Got it. What if the client doesn't have video? What if they just have images and the content? Is that enough?
Not a problem. Yeah, I mean, in fact, the majority of our legacy agency clients don't have video and don't do video. A lot of companies just don't have the budget for video.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's just more expensive. It takes more time, so they just don't have as much video content or any video content. we get rankings just fine without video content. Video just makes it a richer article. It's got more
Right.
types of media in it.
Right. Right.
And I mean, that's an important component. So, this is I think a good thing to understand is there are 4 types of content. You have image content, video content, audio content, and written content, right? So those are the 4 mediums of content that we can traffic inside Quantum Newswire or on a website or anywhere, right? So the more types of content you have inside, the more types of media you have inside your article, the richer that article is going to be, the more Googlebot's going to love it. So we encourage the use of images. We encourage the use of video. If you have a podcast audio, embed that sucker in there, right? I mean, it's going to be richer content because it's got more types of content in it besides just written or textual content.
Got it. Okay. Is there, besides being redundant, is there any risk of using the same image over and over again? Or
Same what?
Using the same image over and over again. So let's say I did 4 press releases for the month and I just don't have images. I just have my content. Can I link to the same image over and over?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. What I would say is if you don't have a bunch of images, you can take that image and you can put it on different places. So if I have this one image here, that's all I have. In order to maybe kind of vary, from month to month, put this image in a Gmb post, put this image on a WordPress site, put the image on a Flickr account, or you know what I mean? And then as long as this image is publicly available, meaning I don't have to be signed in or in a session token to be able to view it, then this image will also be able to be used inside Quantum.
Got it. What would you say to someone that says, I don't have anything that's press worthy? I do tile grouting. Why would they want a press release about me? What do you say to someone?
I get that a lot, actually. That's a good question. So this is our legacy agency here, Brand Equation. And you can see here's
extension cords. Right.
What's that?
Using extension cords. I get it. All right.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, that's a good example to answer your question, right?
Right.
I mean, what is newsworthy about safety tips for using extension cords, right?
Right.
Nothing. And we get into this issue as you're in month 6, now you're in month 12. All right, well, we've written about all the most newsworthy topics in the first 6 months. Now what do we write about in month 7, right? So that's why I get this question, or, it posed to me quite a bit as, well, what do we do? Well, in Quantum, we're a little bit more lax than your traditional press release services, as you can see here. As you look at even just the headlines alone, these are not really like newsworthy type articles. These are more like blog articles. As long as the content is quality and is written in third person, not first person, it'll pass through our review process.
Got it.
So as you can see here, I've actually given this link to a few agencies going, hey, just go check out, if you want some examples of, they even say, well, what are some topics? Like, geez, what do I don't really know what's even newsworthy about a landscape lighting company. And well, how outdoor chandeliers add beauty to backyard patio and decks. I mean, there's nothing newsworthy about that, but if we, or how to light water features, ponds and waterfalls. Well, if we go into that article, it's really going to look a lot more like a regular blog article than it is a press release, but it's written in third person. So it's not like the company's writing about themselves, promoting themselves. It's written in third person like it's a reporter writing about the company. But other than that, the topical words and the actual article itself is really more like a blog article.
Got it.
So this is also in that vein, this is a great way to repurpose old blog articles that have been sitting there kind of stagnant on a website, right? So I've helped a couple people with just supercharge your existing WordPress site by taking old content that's been sitting there just doing nothing for months to years, and you may be able to just repurpose it and automatically publish it in Quantum if it's already in third person. If not, it's usually a 10 to 15-minute tweak to take out the first person references like me or us, and just them or they, just change those references, and then publish it out through Quantum. And all of a sudden now you've got the same old stagnant article of content that now gets pushed out to all these different live media sites. And now we've just, we've repurposed content and supercharged that blog. Whereas before it was getting no signals with content that was getting no traffic, that had gotten out to no places or no sites. And now we've repurposed it, redistributed it, and created thousands of signals out of that one article that was sitting there doing nothing before.
When you say repurpose it, so let's say I had, let's say this How to Light Water feature post was a blog post prior.
Mm-hmm.
You would repurpose it, and then you would come up with a new title for the press release, and then in that press release, you would link back to that original blog post?
Yeah, so what I would do is I would probably go, so what I would do is, let's just say this article was sitting there as a blog post, and let's just say it's a year old, right?
Yep.
So what I would do, practically speaking, is I go into that blog article and I do it like 2 or 3 things. Number one, I would make sure it's written in third person, so change the first person references. Number two, I would make sure it's optimized. So if I or our team in the past hadn't done a decent job of optimizing it, I might change the title of it, just repurpose it a little bit, make it more optimal, and then I'd republish it with a new date. So we take it out of a year from the past and we change the published date to new or current, right?
Yep.
As soon as that's published and it's live, then I just simply would take that permalink URL and the content. I'd come into my Quantum account. I'd create from scratch. I'd pick the company that article or blog article, the site that it was on. So let's say it was, Arbor Enterprises. I'd go to step 2. I'd put in my headline and my blog headline. Mm-hmm. I'd basically copy and paste. I'd control all for the whole body of the article, and I just paste it directly into here. I'd find a couple of excerpts that I can just copy and paste out of the article for our summary and blog summary. I might update my linking strategy. That would be another thing I might do in the blog article, is if the links aren't updated or I wasn't thinking, I might update the links. And so once all that's done, copy and paste it into here, drop my images in it if I have any, pick the right category, pick a published date and time, check my box for original source, and here I would choose manually inserted, and then I'd paste my permalink URL right here. And then off we go.
So in that case,
that process might take at most 10 to 15 minutes to repurpose.
So in that case, we would avoid using the plugin. It would skip the plugin, and you would go with the manual, and you'd use the old blog post.
Yes. In this case, if I was repurposing that old blog post that was already on the blog,
yep,
I'd just update it, re-optimize it, republish it for a new date, an updated, more current date.
Yep.
And then the permalink may stay the same. Maybe you decide to change it. I don't know. It's up to you. And then that source link would be right here as the source of that article, and then we'd publish. And then we'd take that article and go out to the live media sites, and we'd attribute that article on all the live media sites back to the target site.
Got it.
So that's how you power up a WordPress blog that's got a lot of stagnant old content that's really not been utilized.
Got it. Very interesting. When you work with a new client, do you typically find that they have no blog content or old blog content?
It's kind of, half and half, maybe. I mean, I don't know, like some of them are just like new sites. Some of them have had a site, but it needs to be completely scrapped and start over because it's just, it's no good. And then some people have got a decent site and they've had blog articles. They've written them themselves. They've had other writers or agencies do them for themselves. And then they come to us and they've got a nice, blog of full of content that's just, is there for being repurposed. So,
Got it.
Well, so that's probably about it. I mean, we've gone over just about everything. And I think we do have a knowledge base and a direct, integrated ticket desk in case our users have any issues or problems. But under here is where you download the WordPress plugin. And then under API is where you generate the API token for your different client companies, or If you're going to use the agency version of our plugin, then you use the personal token to activate it on your agency site. The agency version of the plugin is simply an aggregator. So it turns the site that it's installed on and activated on with the personal token into a news aggregator site, which is what you saw on our brand equation site.
Sure.
So we're using the agency version of the plugin and the personal token on this site. And then this page here, news and media, is aggregating all of the articles that are being published through our legacy agency client account, I'm sorry.
Very cool. On the previous tab, there was something on there that listed penalty. What was that? I haven't seen that before.
Here?
Yeah, it was, I think in the profile section, there was something where it listed, it had the word penalty in red.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
So there are, there looks like I gave myself a penalty. I don't know where that's from last year. Oh, I was probably testing this on this one, but it's a good question though. So if we get content submitted to us, through Quantum Newswire by another agency or a business, and that content is prohibited content or it's spammy, we'll reject it. If we continually, 2, 3, 4 times get the same low quality spammy content or the same issues, we'll reject it with a penalty. If you get 4 penalties, then you actually lose your ability to publish for a month.
Got it.
So it sounds like kind of our built-in way to say, like, hey, just put in quality content. Don't put in spammy stuff. Don't pack an article full of 20 links and we've got good publishing relationships with these live media sites that we don't want to risk, not only for ourselves but for all of our users. So that's why we moderate that content and make sure that a penalty is issued if someone's a repeat offender.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. This has been super helpful. I've been using this for a while now, and I still learn new things about it every time I talk to you. Get a little more insight, a little more context. So I always enjoy our conversations. Is there anything else you want to show me or tell me or know about the platform?
No, I think that's pretty much it, Ed. I mean, if people want to, if people are interested and want to sign up, they can go to quantumnewswire.net, not .com. Our .com is our public-facing site, but we don't put pricing for our agency resellers on the .com just to protect their margins. We did build this for agency resellers, not direct to business. So we want to protect our our agency partner pricing by not disclosing it on the .com. So go to quantumnewswire.net if you want to sign up. But yeah, I mean, and also we have a live chat. So on the quantumnewswire.net, if you get there and you have questions, we do have a live chat, that pops up right here in the bottom right, and that gets to Matt and I and our team. So, if you do have questions, they can just hit the live chat option and ping us there. But yeah, this was a great kind of Q&A with you. If there's anything else that you feel like I can talk about, I'm happy to do that.
I'll just say we signed up for your monthly pricing, and I'll say that it's for what we were paying for press releases. I mean, a handful of press releases more than covers what we're paying in the monthly subscription for the plugin. I mean, it's a no-brainer platform for us. So I'm glad we jumped into it. It's super easy to use. It takes me literally like 5 or 10 minutes a week to get content ready. I just pick what company I'm doing them for, a couple of links, couple of pictures, an image, a video for doing a video, and I just send it off to be written. I pay for it to be written through you guys just because, again, it saves us time. I don't want the writer. Oh, look who that is.
There you go. Look at that. There's your testimonial from a few months ago.
Nice. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the platform. It's super easy to use, and it's easy to show client value month over month when you can get them, press releases out onto sites like ABC, NBC, Fox, all that kind of stuff. So I'm a big fan of it. More importantly, it helps rank quickly.
Yeah. That's
why I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
so, I mean, I appreciate you just doing a kind of a Q&A with me around this topic and around this. I appreciate you, number one. And number two, we really appreciate all of our agency reseller partners. Our goal is to help them get phenomenal results in their SEO campaigns, make it easier and more efficient for them to do so, which was the biggest thing for me in my legacy agency, was just taking so much time to do SEO campaign by campaign, month by month by month. And I wanted the ability to scale it. And so, I mean, I get excited when I see guys like you using it and going, man, this is making it so much easier for me, or man, we're getting such great results with this. Cause that's really the core of why we built it. So when it hits the mark and it's achieving, the outcomes we're looking for, it makes me happy and it gets me jazzed. So when I see guys like you and our agency partners getting results with it and making it easier on them to get those results, then we're happy here at Quantum Newswire.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Well,
Yeah.
that's all I got for today. I really enjoyed our time today. This was awesome. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. I enjoyed it too. I appreciate you. And if there's anything else I can do to help you in your, as you continue to do what you do for both Clicks Geek and in your SEO campaigns, by all means, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.